Hey, 918ers, it's Thursday, and everybody knows what that means. We are coming at you with a Dune review roundup this week. That's right, the spice and the spoilers must flow. We've got all the major Fanboy 918 noble houses represented tonight. So put on your steel suit, grab your Chris knife, and activate your shield as we get our Queezox Hatteron on as we talk Dune on tonight's live episode of this fantastic week. I'm your host, Geek Boy. Joining me tonight, executing assigned producer duties flawlessly, is the Reverend IT Geek. Also in the house is the Queen, the Viking Slayers with me, and we have Mr. Ronnie Brown in the house tonight, and we have other special guests that will be joining us, popping in and out as the broadcast unfolds. Reverend, how are we doing over there?
Sounds like we're doing pretty dang good here tonight, and the video is coming through. So you haven't jinxed us yet there, Geek Boy, so keep on trucking.
I do my best. It looks like Jason Barker's already in the Sprout himself is already in the broadcast.
And we got Bucky King has joined us tonight. What's up, Bucky?
Well, man, we're trugging right along here.
Yes.
All right. So I want to welcome Ronnie. This is his first time in here. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I think I did one long time ago, but recency of the experience is long gone.
We had a little segment called Alien, right? Is that the one that you were in?
It was either the Alien one, or I think I did the Alien one in person in Tulsa, and then the last podcast I think I did was maybe the Prince one, if I remember correctly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right, Ronnie. I forgot about that one. Good call.
Loving being here.
All right. And the Viking Slayer is with us tonight. Now, where is your wife? Where's Brunch and Bullets?
I believe she's not going to participate tonight. She'd rather make fun of Turtle with the Christmas movies tonight. So
it is. Well, it's not Christmas
movies or Love Boat.
No, they're watching Christmas movies on the Hallmark Channel.
Yeah.
And see, you got me stuck up here. I can be watching Christmas movies.
Damn straight. All right. Hey,
it is already Christmas here.
Yeah.
Holding back, not putting up a tree before Thanksgiving.
Nope. It's not even Thanksgiving yet.
No.
Put that stuff away.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving.
No, not yet. It's my understanding that Mr. Narwhal will be joining us tonight, as well as who else is coming on with us? Did we ever decide on a handle?
Texas Red.
Texas Red.
Likes it or not.
Texas
Red will be joining us. The
teacher of the
nerds. She is my BFF from college, and we're sending her a new link. I think we had some trouble with the link that she got.
That very well could be. This is probably going to be the biggest one we have, that we've had since we've done this. So while the Reverend is doing that, I want to thank everyone who's watching. Bucky, Sprout, other folks are going to be joining in. We, as always, hope you enjoyed tonight's show, and we want all of your comments. Even if you end up watching us time shifted after the fact, we will still do our best to respond. We still get notifications that you've commented on it. Lastly, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, not only to the Facebook page, but jump over to our YouTube page and subscribe to it and mash that bell. We don't want you to miss any of our growing blocks of programming. I say that because there's going to come a time, we don't know exactly when we're going to be moving all of our live programming over to the YouTube page, except for maybe one. Reverend, have you got your soundboard tonight, or do I need?
I do have the soundboard. It is ready.
We had a lot of fun. I know that the Viking Slayer had a lot of fun discovering Kolchak the Night Stalker these past 3 weeks. You'd never seen that before.
No, I had never seen that. I truly did enjoy it.
Yeah.
The movies and the 2 episodes that we watched last Friday of the show, and then on Sunday here we watched a few more, and I really did, because it just, to me, it was almost like a prequel to the X-Files.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The father of the X-Files is Carl Kolchak. So but anyway, so we had a lot of fun with that, but it's coming this Friday, we'll be getting back to our regular block of programming. And Reverend, what's that called?
Sci-Fi Friday.
It was worth tuning in just for that, wasn't it, folks? It really was.
Made it all worth the effort, people.
That's right. So this week's Sci-Fi Friday will be back. Now, I have to say, this will be a pre-recorded episode. Circumstances will not allow us to be live. We're going to be somewhere else, but that's okay. Thanks to the miracle of computing, and Facebook, we can be two places at once, and we'll do it again. And I honestly, I guess my biggest regret, I'm glad this show's back, but my biggest regret is it's really not a very good episode that we're airing this week. It's a tally episode.
You take them and you lose.
That's right. Yeah. At least it's not Spock's brain.
Yeah,
I mean, Spock's brain has got to be. Actually, I would rather watch Spock's brain and Lights of Zatar 3 times in a row than watch freaking Plato's Stepchildren. But that's a totally different show, and we're getting into that, and we're going to lose the queen if I keep this kind of talk up. So, hang on a second here. I lost my place in my cheat notes here. But anyway, the episode that we're airing is called A Spider in the Web. It has to deal with rogue telepaths on Babylon 5. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. That's the wrong.
How much you've had to drink over there?
I haven't had anything to drink. That's
your problem.
This is the cyber zombie episode. This is the cyber zombie episode. And that should tell you all you need to know about the quality of it. Again, this will be we will have a pre-show and an after show, but we won't be giving our live commentary, like I say, because we will not be present. And I think if I pulled out the phone to commentate during what we're going to be doing, the Turtle Gal would string me up.
Yes, she would.
Yes, she would.
Yes, she would.
Yes, she would.
Yes, she would. So with that, you want to know any more? Tune in tomorrow night, 7:00. This is normally where I'd hand it off to Goldar to promote Nightcrawlers, because I'm sure he's got a new episode uploading.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I can take it over and everything.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I mean, I think we're still in the midst of his God of War for his every night on, I believe, either Friday or Saturday nights at like 11 o'clock midnight. He drops a new episode of what we call as our Fanboys 918 Nightcrawler. And so join Goldar every week. He comes in, he plays about 30 minutes of a game and uploads that what he's playing. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of way to get reintroduced to a game that maybe you played before or never played before, and you get to see some of it. Now, of course, he has been playing the new game Alien that he's having a lot of fun with, and then there's some other games that he's got lined up and stuff. So I can't talk nearly to the level that Mr. Goldar can, but he's always having a great time doing it and getting those videos out there for it.
Now, is he going to be?
They're the first ones seeing the Eternals.
They are correct.
Is that what they're doing?
Goldar is at the premiere of the Eternals tonight.
Okay,
so we'll get a chance to see hear his feedback.
That's interesting. I've not heard good things about the Eternals.
Neither have I. But you know what? That's not what we're here to talk about tonight. So
I know we are not here to talk about that.
We're gonna press on, and so should we wait for Mr. Narwhal's introduction of his?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that's fair. So first of all, Major Sprout just coined Ronnie's handle as Major Geek. I don't know if he no, he's saying no, hell to the no on that.
Yeah, just Geek is fine.
So now I think we dive in because we don't know who else is going to be joining, and if some people need to hop off or go do other things, they'll be in and out. This is going to be kind of an off format show with us. We're only going to have one topic, and that topic is Dune. The spice must flow. And first off, let's get the spoiler policy out of the way. I think we're going to talk all kinds of spoilers tonight, and there's 3 reasons for this. One, the movie's been out nearly 2 weeks, okay, between HBO Max and the theater. I think anyone who's really just dying to see it has pretty much already seen it or has had.
Shame on you if you hadn't seen it.
Exactly. So I think at this point, if you've wanted to see Dune, you could. I mean, you were having trouble getting to the theater, but you watched it.
I watched it.
Yeah.
So,
hey, just let you know, Narwhal is logging in now, so he'll be in here shortly.
Okay. And also, it's been out almost 8 weeks overseas. So, in my opinion, Warner's completely botched the release plan. If you ask me. So, between the internet spoilers, HBO Max, Warner Brothers has probably left about $40 million on the table, and lastly,
if not more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we'll talk about that. Lastly, as far as spoilers go, it's based on material that's over 50 years old. So I kind of think spoilers are pretty much fair game at this point. The Queen figured out everything she needed to figure out through Wikipedia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I actually convinced her the other night to watch the Dune 84 movie, and
good man.
Yes. Couldn't believe it. Made her stick the whole way through.
We'll
We'll definitely chat about that.
Definitely.
It's a little
And
early for my commentary on that one, so we'll wait till the sun goes down a little further.
He does have some very colorful comments about some of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to reshare with everybody. Chris Gore, who does Film Threat, he talks about when he was a teenager, Dune was his favorite book. I mean, he read it every year, whether he needed to or not. And he had discovered Eraserhead, which was David Lynch's first movie. And he decided in his, 13, 14-year-old mind that David Lynch was his favorite director. And when he heard that David Lynch was making Dune, he's like, oh my God, my favorite director is making my favorite book. And he ruined it all. He said he even had a chance to interview him later for Film Threat magazine. He's like, I have a story to tell you. And fortunately, Lynch was a good sport about it. Because even it's my understanding, when David Lynch made that movie, he was under the impression he was making a 3-hour film. And then they said, no, you're making a 2-hour and 15-minute film. He's like, I can't do that. So that was part of the problem. And the fact that, again, the special effects, even by early 80s standards, were pretty bad. I mean, they shot like not even like original Star Wars quality. I mean, they were below that.
The VFX, I would agree with you. The things that didn't require any type of animatics or any type like makeup and whatnot. Yeah, that stuff was terrible. However, on the other side of the house, anything that wasn't like VFX or whatever, we're talking about the practical stuff, makeup stuff, prosthetics, whatever. That in-camera stuff, I thought that stuff was actually pretty good. I think it still kind of stands up. But I'm with you. The special effects were not good.
Special.
Yeah, not so special.
So special.
The sets are amazing, though. I mean, they shot their wad on set construction.
Yeah.
And something else that I found out, they underestimate. Unlike now when we have all kinds of CGI and even contact lenses, they underestimated the amount of rotoscoping and time it was going to take to get the eyes blue.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was one thing I noticed when we were watching tonight. But before we go any further, I just want to say shout outs to Lori St. Clair Van Pool. She's joined us tonight. So is Lori Alvarado, and Tim Horgan is all joined us in the queue. So yes,
full house tonight.
Full house going on here. But I noticed that in some of the scenes we were watching the 84 Dune, that the blue sometimes the blue eyes, you could see it in some scenes, but by the time it got to the next scene, the blue had disappeared, or it looked like it was hinted at in some scenes and never came back. So it was really interesting. And
Spice was wearing on.
Yeah, Spice was wearing on.
There you go. Spice was wearing on.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So I'd heard also when it made its network debut, there was some issue with with contracting or something like that with the time it took to get the film formatted for TV. It actually made it to TV without the blue on the eyes at all.
Oh, wow.
If I remember when I heard that in one of the documentaries that I was researching, but I don't remember it. I don't remember seeing it like that, but I thought that was pretty interesting if it did make it to TV without the blue eyes at all.
Oh, wow.
I feel like those are kind of important.
That is very
a little bit.
Like,
I'm sorry if the Queen can pick up on that and never seen this movie. Like, I think it's kind of important. I think that's pretty important.
Well, yeah, and I think it also led to one of the big reasons why David Lynch ultimately was so salty about the whole process is because there were those kinds of issues that plagued the life of the of the film, from inception all the way to to making it to network television.
Kind of like Fincher in Alien 3. Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's see here. We hopefully Miss Texas Red will get on here soon, and
she is actually being forced to do an update before she can join. So who knows how that's going to be? You gotta love that. Looks like Narwhal's.
There we go.
There's Narwhal.
Hey,
what's up, man?
Mr. Narwhal is in the house.
It's not
Took me a second to get everything lined on there.
without technical difficulties.
Exactly.
Hey,
It's
listen,
just
I'm telling
happening
you.
in Texas tonight.
Do I?
The connection between here and Texas is spotty.
Well, it's got to cross that river. It's got to cross that river,
So this whole time you guys are saying Narwhal, I had no idea we're talking about Mr. Dwayne. I had no idea.
That's our handle.
Yeah.
That's the handle. I think we got
somebody.
Texas.
Hey!
There we
Red is
go.
here.
Texas Red's in the house.
It's a party now.
That's right.
It's getting real up here, people.
That's
So
right.
before we go much further, let's go ahead and pause right there, and let's Mr. Nawal do a little plugging for his Fanflix Fanerism episode.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
What you got for us this week, Mr. Narwhal?
Yeah, Fanurism Flicks is a series that we run on the YouTube channel that's dedicated to all sorts of old movies and TV shows. Definitely not what you might call the cream of the crop, but there are a few undiscovered gems in there that we've seen, and a few that are not even B-level movies. We're talking about C to Z level movies. Last week we had a couple of Halloween specials that held a very special place in my heart. But this one's a little frightening. I considered running this one for Halloween actually, but I thought it was just maybe a little bit too scary, a little bit too intense for our audience. But since now Halloween's over, and I figured, oh, what the heck, let's give it a try. So roll that beautiful bean footage, if you would.
All right, we're going to mute up right now, and we're going to run our trailer for Fanurism Fanflix.
Hidden in the vastness of the great American desert is the world's most secret project.
This panel has convened to render a decision as to the immediate future of the alien life form known as ALF.
Hi! All right, take your time, get over the initial shock.
Presenting the return of one of the universe's most loved critters.
Oh, please. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Do I have to come up with funny answers? Medic!
In a battle to the death with one of Hollywood's most respected stars.
Oh, why don't you just stab me?
Listen to me, you furry little freak. When we exterminate you, we're going to be sending a message to every other extraterrestrial out there. We will no longer be intimidated. Not me, not my mama, not anyone.
Your mama? Did he say his mama?
We found out to be a warm, friendly, occasionally annoying, but highly intelligent creature.
How do you feel about dating outside of your species?
It wouldn't be the first time.
Isn't she delightful?
The Mensch from Melmac is back.
Yeah.
And now, he's an alien with an attitude.
Now, I hope you're not trying to win any prizes with those outfits. The village people uniform's okay, but that dog suit's the worst.
Permission to bite the bouncer, sir.
Sir, Alf is a menace to society and ought to be incinerated.
Don't you mean incarcerated, sir?
No.
Once people know ALF exists, he'll be safe.
You want to go public with Alf?
And let's not forget the merchandising possibilities.
Do you really want to see Alf dolls in all the toy stores?
As long as they're plush. I don't render well in vinyl.
Miguel Ferrer, William O'Leary, Beverly Archer, John Schuck, Ed Begley Jr., Ray Walston, and Martin Sheen.
There's a very thin line between mutilating cows and eating cats.
For the record, he never ate the cat.
Project Alf.
Man, I am scared to the bone on that episode right there.
Oh God, I don't know what to say.
Words fail whenever you run into something like this.
Where do you pull these little magic gems out there, Narwhal? I mean, I don't think I even knew
that Alf had a movie.
That's exactly right. Very few people actually did know that Alf had a movie. So Alf, for any of our younger viewers out there, Alf was a TV show that aired late 80s to, I believe it ended in 1990. And it was the story of a character, a creature called Alf, who lived with a family called the Tanners. And what a lot of people don't necessarily remember was the last episode of the series actually ended on a cliffhanger that they were intending to come back in the next season and pick up from, but they got canceled. And the cliffhanger was that Alf had gotten captured by the U.S. government and that he was on the table. They were getting ready to do the alien autopsy on him. So like you said, most people don't even know that this movie exists. It's a movie that they created specifically to wrap up all of the loose ends from the Alf TV show. And as you can see, it actually has a fairly robust cast, especially for something as sort of not even bland, but just something as generic as Alf.
My God, Martin Sheen
I know.
in an Alf movie.
In an Alf movie.
It was so special to see that Ronnie had to run off screen because he was trying to hide his tears of enjoyment of seeing the Project Alf movie.
He had to go down and watch it on the 65 inch.
He did. He's like, I gotta see this on the big screen right here.
Yeah. So this is going to drop tonight at midnight. So tune in to Fanurism Flicks this weekend and enjoy a little scene blast from the past from the 90s.
How long is the movie?
It's about an hour and a half.
You may have actually found the first movie that Queen will tune in tonight. She loved it. I think, don't you still have a stuffed elf? I mean, I think your parents.
My Aunt Kathy probably has it if it's still in our possession, but there is probably an Alf doll somewhere.
Yep.
That's right. I bring the best of entertainment to your door.
Hey, I was going to sing the praises of Terror Express.
What'd you think of that?
That was great. Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee fighting the Terminator gorilla. Hell yeah, that was awesome.
That is one of the sort of hidden gems that I always try to steer people towards, because when you start watching it, you're thinking, okay, it's your typical kind of creature feature and it's a horror film, but what you don't realize about I guess between a third and a half of the way through, no, this is not a horror film. This is a science fiction film.
Yes,
and at some point, then it transitions it even into a little bit of a zombie film. I mean, it's all over the place, but in a good way. It really keeps you guessing, especially for a film that's from the early 70s.
I was very impressed. So, well, Reverend, I don't think we have any RIPs. Let's get before some celebrity drops dead.
Yeah, I know.
Let's get going with
Let's get it kicked off.
Did you guys talk about Gunther though?
No. That is one thing that we missed last week is the I forget the actor's name.
Michael
Courtney, Texas Red, you're muted up. Do you remember Gunther's the actor's name that played Gunther on Friends?
Yeah, no.
So we'll have to look at it. Yeah, we all know the face.
Everybody
Mike something or anything, but so the actor that played Gunther on Friends, he lost his battle with cancer about 2 weeks ago. And so that is
James Michael Tyler.
There you go, James Michael Tyler. Yes,
he was 59 years old.
In fact, due to his illness, he couldn't even attend the Friends reunion. He had to do it via virtually and stuff.
He sent a message to them.
So he sent a message to him and everything. So we didn't get to acknowledge it last week. So yeah, we need to throw that out there because that's definitely a special show that hits a lot of generations, young and old, even today. So
we had a fangirl takeover that did Friends.
We did. It was a great time. So
we should probably circle back to that reunion that happened.
We should. Okay.
We'll put that on the agenda.
There you go.
You guys got so many openings on the calendar here with this group.
Yes. Pick one of the days we're not on the air.
All right. Texas Red can join in on that one, and she can start doing some fangirls takeovers during other nights of the week.
I would love to. Yeah.
All right.
I get a lot of material from my kiddos at school, so now that I can breathe a little bit. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Cool.
All right. So does everybody know who Texas Red is? I know that this group, but she's usually in the chat.
She is.
She's live and in person tonight.
So Texas Red, who we've mentioned on a regular, she joins us every week, and this is her first time being with us live. You've heard her mention her name is Courtney, but she's actually joining us live. She's actually seen Dune 2 times now
in the theater. Yeah,
in theater.
Oh, dang!
And thanks to the ever wonderful AMC pass that she possesses, she's gotten to go and see that. In fact, last night she was so excited she ran to the theater and watched it again last night before tonight.
So, I was looking for an excuse to rewatch it. So
and there you go. But she's also
talk about it on Facebook tomorrow.
And she's a big fan of the 1984 Dune, correct?
Yeah. Actually, I couldn't sleep when I got home because I was just so. So I watched it.
Man, she did a double Dune. Right
Damn,
there.
it's like 5 hours of Dune.
Twofer.
I go hard or go home. Cindy can attest to that.
There you go.
Okay, so
we have a
Ronnie,
long history of go hard or go home.
yeah. We're not going to talk about college, but hey, so
I'll go
I know you've never seen the David Lynch Dune, correct?
No,
Viking.
I have not.
And Dwayne, I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Narwhal. Now, I don't know who I'm talking to tonight. Have you? I know you've seen it, but have you seen it recently?
I have not seen the 84 Dune recently, probably in probably the past 5 years or so.
Okay, so do we want to have a brief discussion about it? I mean,
let's go for it.
We can. There's so much stuff
Whatever
that I
you want.
forgot because I think this is the first time, like in my adult life. I think the first time I came across it might have been like in high school, late at night, and there was nothing else on, and I'm like flipping, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'll watch this.
Well, now
there was a lot of things that I either willingly or just blocked out because there were certain things that were that I was like, oh, I forgot about the flying squid baby vagina mouth
Vagina octopus, yeah.
giant octopus that shot beams out the butt. I was like, what? I do.
But what I don't know why I forgot this, but what I remembered I thought was the coolest thing is when they had their things on, I forget, their cloaks or whatever. I want to call it a cloak, but it's not. The protector, the shield, their shield on.
Oh,
I forgot how Tron they looked with, because it was just these like parallelogram boxes that covered them for the
same
special
technology.
effects. They were amazing.
Actually, I still think it's a pretty cool effect. Actually,
No, I do. I think it's great. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, they should have tried to do that in the new one. Not
Ronnie,
the new
did
one.
you have a comment about that?
Who's that? Me?
Yeah. Did you have a comment? I'm sorry. I thought I heard something and I didn't.
Well, no, I was just I think I was saying that the technology I think was almost exact, if not done by the exact same people who did the Tron stuff. I mean, they were neck and neck, time wise, proximity wise. So yeah, it was same stuff. And it's interesting that we talked about that because the new Dune, I had a lot of things. I wish is Jason on here? Is he able to speak, or is he just?
I think he's in the chat room. I don't think.
Okay, he's in the chat. He's complaining about having a 1 a.m. wake up call for work or something.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's weak.
Weak.
No, the
weak sprout.
Yeah, exactly. Sprout is weak. No, just kidding. No. So I just wanted to apologize for going so hard on the chat that we had, the tech, that back and forth, discussion that we had about it, because, I was really hard on him about his opinion of the movie because he came out pretty passionate about it. And I was like, whoa. I don't agree with all, but after I've seen the movie like 3 times now, the Denis Villeneuve film like 3 times now, and maybe even 4. Can't quite remember at this point, but my opinion has changed a bit after having watched it, a number of times. And
can I ask a question real quick, Ronnie? So have you seen them all on TV, or has it been in theater and TV?
The first one was on IMAX.
Okay.
So yeah. I kind of, that was kind of committed to that. I was dedicated to making sure that I watched it on IMAX as my first viewing. So. And then went on ahead and and checked it out at home. So different experience, much different experience at home, but still acceptable. But again, I don't want to take up the whole time talking about it, but I will say that my opinion went from maybe about 90% love to about down. It's probably down to about an 80% at this point.
Oh, okay.
After having watched it a few times and thinking about. Yeah, because we're talking about the 84 version. That one, as you guys probably already know, is a sentimental favorite movie of mine, of my childhood. So I go back and forth about the technical reasons why, the objective reasons why one is better than the other. But that's kind of how I wanted to start off my discussion part with saying that, Sprout, I'm sorry, I went a little hard on you.
It's funny you say that.
Nothing but love in this.
We lost Mr. Narwhal.
Lost Narwhal.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. He got the link.
but it's interesting because he sent me a message, kind of the same thing. Man, I felt like I went a little hard on that, and he's watched it again, and his opinion of it's actually softened. He actually liked it better.
Yeah,
is what he told me. So it's interesting.
See,
I've seen it.
You guys balance each other out. You guys are like the perfect couple, Ronnie and Sprout. You guys, all these years, you still balancing each other out.
Frickin' frack.
That's right.
Looks like the Bruce Star is in the chat.
He is. And Sprout just came back. You son of a gun. Oh man, but kind of going back to the whole like shielding thing like that. I know whenever it popped up, the queen was like, it looks like Legos, but the thing I went to is like it almost looked like the Minecraft characters. And if you're a Minecraft player, just the whole building blocks and the way they moved around. I was like,
I never thought about it like that, but yeah, you're right.
I was like, it looks like Minecraft hard, and I was like, that's kind of funny. I was just wondering how much is that a precursor to what Minecraft was. I mean, who knows, but it just it hit me as a Minecraft more of a familiarity than anything else. So, but I will say one thing is that, and I think the Queen will agree, is like how much was like verbatim from the 84 Dune to the 21 Dune. It was amazing.
There were definitely a lot of nods, and they went back. So the movies, how close to the book are they? I'm not going to read the book, so
I would say that
a lot of differences, a lot to say about that.
Well, let's see. As far as the two separate films, they both contain a lot of Frank Herbert's dialogue, which is why you saw a lot of callbacks to in both films. I thought Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 1, I can't stress that enough, was a pretty faithful adaptation. I mean, the biggest change that I saw that the Viking Slayer and I were talking about earlier was if I remember right, and I just finished it like December of 20, when we thought we were getting a movie in December of 20. I wanted to basically try to finish the book, read the book, or as I like to say, have Audible read to me, the book, try to get it done before the movie came out. And so it was pretty fresh on my mind, not like it was if I just read it, but it was still pretty fresh in my mind. And the one thing that I remember is I don't remember Paul having visions until he started ingesting the spice on Arrakis when they were camped out in the desert that night. I mean, he still had his weirding way and his voice and all that, but I don't remember him having visions until he started ingesting the spice. Is that?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I just re-listened to it this summer because I got tired of waiting.
Oh.
So I decided to listen to it again or listen to it the first time, I guess, because I read it the first time. But yeah, absolutely. That was the one big difference. But I felt like it was folded in pretty seamlessly. So if you didn't read the book, it kind of, you have to condense so much. And that was the best way to condense it with what they had and what they were trying to do.
Right. And the only other, and then I'll shut up and let Ronnie talk. The only other difference
says a lot, Ronnie. That
says a lot. Really jumped out at me. Yeah, that's a big deal. The only difference that really jumped out at me was in the Lynch film. In the book, it is the Princess Arelon that is the anchor that's like the thread that runs through. Whereas in this, it looks like they decided to make that the Chaney character, or Chani, or however the hell they pronounce the name. So that was the two big takeaways I took from the book, and the fact that so that's the biggest thing. So Ronnie, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the biggest thing that I remember, as far as like the first thing that I noticed that was a big kind of departure from the book in the Denis Villeneuve film, was that they didn't spend a whole lot of time on Caladan, up front. I mean, they were there and they kind of established what was going on, but you didn't really feel what was going on, as far as like, okay, so this is House Atreides, all right. What is it, in the book, they were really serious about establishing the fact that this is the center of the story. Everything is starting from this point and going out. Now, I think in David Lynch, I think they decided to, like you were talking about with the Prince Orlan and whatnot, they introduced the Emperor first, and sort of talked about how the plans within plans were coming together and the meaning of how these different factions were plotting to get from point A to point B. So it started from the perspective of the grander universe with the Emperor and the Harkonnens and everybody coming in, and they even had one of the first things that you saw was the Guild Navigator coming in there. You guys talked about the vagina mouth and this and that, which was and I got more to say about one of my problems with the Denis film versus the Lynch film. But I really did appreciate how they kind of gave a little bit more context, at least in the Lynch film, that kind of made me feel like I was reading the book a little bit more, and I think that Denis Villeneuve decided that a lot of that was a bit too wonky for the average viewer, which I think might have been a little bit of a mistake in my opinion. I think he should have maybe given a little bit more context, before they kind of going right into, saying, because if you look at in the Denis film, the new film, Shawnee is talking immediately, and she just briefly describes what's going on.
Right.
All right. The Harkonnens are here, they're oppressing us. Now they're gone. Now the Atreides are coming in. I don't even think she said that. She just said the Harkonnens hate us. They're oppressing us, and now they're gone. And then that was it. And now you're on
the
House
line
of
is, who will our new oppressors be? I think that's the line. Or
yeah,
something.
she said, who will our new?
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying, Ronnie, about that, a thing that I miss from the books and from some of the pre-books, having read most of the series, they kept showing pictures of the bull hanging up and boxing at that bull, but they never really got into the bull, because there was a lot of dialogue in the book about that and the packing of it and how Lady Jessica felt about it, and why
it had
they
to do with
kept
his
it.
grandfather, right?
It killed his grandfather.
That was killed. Yeah,
it killed his grandfather, and that was going back to way back in the day when Duncan Idaho was first coming on board with House Atreides, because he had just escaped from the Harkonnens.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
10. He was like 10 years old or something like that.
Hey, we got a couple comments in the chat real quick. Let me get caught up. So Sprout came in. I'm still confused how Jean-Luc Picard was on Dune. Bruce Starr came in. Plus, in '84, they showed a navigator that wasn't in the book. Then Bruce Starr came back. Wonky hell, give it to me. Sprout came in. Why did the Harkonnen not have blue eyes if they were exposed to the spice for so long? That's a really interesting question.
That's a very interesting question.
I've never. So, and then Bruce Starr came back. As long as they had been there, they should have. It takes a year or so. So that's what Bruce Starr. So I mean, that's a great point. Is anyone that's been familiar with the book, was it ever explained why the Harkonnens never? I guess
I don't think so. I just assumed that they did. I mean, but I didn't think about that.
Their house story is so crazy in itself when you're actually when they're talking about them and you're learning about their house background and history. The really last thing on your mind is the blue eyes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They put the fun back in dysfunctional. Literally.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you the differences between the Baron and the Dune 21 versus the Baron in '84. That was like, whoa. That was a little scary. Oh, I should comment in that Mr. Narwhal internet is out, so he does not know if he'll be able to join back in or not. So, but anyway, so just want to let you know. But anyway, so I mean, man, the Barons there. Ooh.
So I kind of wanted to get into the character, casting and how they were illustrated on screen. See what you guys thought about these things. But so since you already talked about the Baron, what were you guys' impressions of how they designed the Baron for this new movie versus I guess what your preconceived notions are.
So now you've not seen 85 or 84. No. Okay. I thought. I'm sorry, Courtney. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying. I forgot that he didn't see 84. But no, if I had the floor, then I liked it better because it humanized him a little bit more. Not that you really want to relate to a guy like that, but it just made him seem that more pure evil, nasty. And I like to go dark, so I dug it.
I thought so. Actually, we're forgetting there's a third incarnation of Dune.
Yep.
The Sci-Fi Channel miniseries,
Mm-hmm.
which
I haven't seen that.
is 100%. I mean, it is so slovenly faithful to the source material, almost to a fault.
Yeah.
Its biggest problem is it was a mini series made for the Sci-Fi Channel, so they don't
They
quite
cut some
really
corners.
But they had. I mean, they made sure the worms looked pretty good. And the visual effects look kind of like a PlayStation 1 cutscene, kind of thing. It's got a really good cast. I think William Hurt plays the Duke. I mean, it's a pretty good cast.
Yeah.
And it's very faithful to the source material, but because they don't have the budget that Denis Villeneuve was working with, it comes across more like a very elaborate stage play or radio play. Like it's almost like you've got a full.
Well said. Yeah.
I mean, it's not bad. And there was a few design elements that they grabbed that I kind of saw in mainly some of the uniforms, but I brought that up because the Baron in that version is like a cross between the gross Baron from the 84 Dune and the Baron that we got in this one. It was almost like they were heading toward what we ended up with Stellan Skarsgård character, but again, with it being Sci-Fi Channel and the fact it was made in like the early 2000s, they just quite didn't have the tech to make it look good. I mean, I really I dug Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron. I thought he was great. I thought the other guy was just a little. He sits next to Danny DeVito's Penguin in my mind as far as like the grossest freaking villains ever.
So, Queen, what was your thought of the Baron and the comparisons now that you've seen both movies?
Well, I mean, I had no notion of what I was getting into when we started. I haven't read the books.
The 84 Dune.
I hadn't
seen
anything. I was a virgin.
Right. Dune virgin right here.
I was a Dune virgin.
Time in a long time.
I know, right? It's been a minute. I think I preferred Skarsgård just because that's what I started with, and I don't know. I'm having a hard time going back in time and doing stuff in the 80s. I'm like, oh man, we just have come so far. I can't go back. I don't know. I think I like what Courtney said though, that like he just seemed evil, whereas the 1984 version, he was gross, and I just couldn't put my finger on, other than the boils, why I didn't like him. I did question whether or not he was gay. Is it the way
there was some serious undertones of all that.
Yeah.
A lot of people,
Nothing that's wrong with that. It was just like, if you think about in the 80s, read the books. It answers it all.
It answers a lot of it, and how he got in the position that how he looks the way he looks now.
Oh,
it
really?
tells you all of that.
Baron's into some sketchy shit. That's all I'm going to say.
And sketchy is putting it mildly.
Right. So I would say that the Skarsgård version of the Baron, though, does not really, in my mind, did not really put in question any of that. What you're kind of referring to from the book is that he, the 84 Baron, it looked like he had been through some stuff to maybe achieve that level of power, and the maniacal laughing and just pure craziness. It's like, all right, so you've just gone totally off the deep end here. And so I'm just wondering, if that wasn't, and of course I haven't read the book, but is that how he achieved power, is through, some very interesting ways that basically just drove him probably mad, but, and everything like that. But Skarsgård, he seems more, his Baron seems more conniving, more, you say evil, but I mean, it's like he's more ruthless in my personal opinion. And the way he just kind of, Skarsgård's delivery to me, for me, is that he's more calculating. He's more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I don't want to say evil. It's just that cunning. Yeah. He's always like, seems to be like 3 moves ahead of you, and he knows it. And he's very arrogant about it. And the way he was, grilling the Duke and all that stuff.
In the book, I was going to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was going to say, in the book, they actually, if I remember correctly, they started off with a lot of exposition, right up front with the Duke, with Raban, with Fade, and he's basically describing the plans to both of them, saying, "Hey, this is what we set up. You know, it's they think it's going like this, but it's actually going like this. You know, the emperor has given me this to do this. You know, but yeah, we got the witches, we got the Bene Gesserits going on over here, and there's a plan set for this because this is a trap and they don't know it. I mean, they really talked a lot of that out. And one of the things I wanted to see was, if notwithstanding all the over the top stuff you got out of the first Baron in the 84 version, you take all that away, there was still a little bit more of that opening exposition and dialogue with that character, that you got from the book, because, they went a little bit back and forth, him kind of trying to explain it to Raban and Raban not really getting it. Raban just felt like a big dumb, bloke in the first movie. And you kind of got that out of the book too. You got out of the book, like, there was a lot of tension between the Duke and Raban, Beast Raban. Like he felt like he was stupid, and Fade was like, really smart, sharp, and he liked Fade, but he didn't like Raban. But he needed Raban because he was his muscle, and he basically controlled all of his armies. But I don't feel I don't think that was done well. At least not that, all those dynamics weren't there in the new movie. I kind of wanted them to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really get the fact that him and Raban, that he didn't. I mean, I think he thought Raban was a bit dim, but I never really got the idea that he didn't like him. And they didn't even bring in the character of Fade Rafa yet, which, by the way, I aired when I was speaking to the Queen and the Reverend there. And that Fade Rafa is the character Sting played is a totally different character than Raban. I was confused. That's how confused I was. So I want to.
We got a couple of comments in the chat. I'm sorry, we got a lot of great conversations, so I want to make sure we're getting them all caught up. So Bruce Star came in. They used the blue eyes to show who the good guys are. Sprout came in. I like the 84 Baron visually, but the 21 Baron is more visceral and cunning. Bruce Star, I probably wouldn't have gone with Skarsgård. He didn't like that one. So Bruce Star came back. The sci-fi series wasn't true to the uniforms. I'm surprised.
For a uniform.
I hadn't read the book at the time, so I didn't know.
Bruce Star came in. You weren't born yet, Em. So Bruce came back. 84 Baron was more book. Bruce Star, the riches that the spice provided was able to buy higher levels of hedonism.
Yeah.
Bruce Star came back also. Any word who will play Fade, and that's why I wanted to get caught up, because we're about to on that. Fade was going to succeed the Baron, and they might still be. So all right, caught up. Boom.
I don't know, and there's another. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna.
You know what, Bruce Star? You know, if you want, I can send you the invite.
I told him. I invited him. He's like, no, man, I got stuff to do tonight. So I did. I reached out to him. Say,
in the chat. That's what he's got to do.
So I want to ask the Viking Slayer real quick. Now, what was your Dune experience? Had you read the book or anything like that?
No, like watching. I've always wanted to read the book, and then like last Christmas I got I got the book set, but then I've just been so busy and hadn't been able to read them yet. And then I wanted to get on this, so I watched the movie. So watching the 2021 version of the movie is my only real experience with Dune.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw this out specifically to you and the Queen. Okay. Were you ever, I'll let you, since we're engaged, I'll let you answer them. Were you ever like, what's this? What are these witches doing? What's all that? I mean, were you there? This is a very dense universe, probably as dense as Middle Earth. So were you ever lost or confused or
the only thing that I was a little confused about is the Baron, like how, like, especially the first time he levitates. Like, I'm just like, how does, like, where what
the hell
gives him the ability to levitate? Do they all have that? And he just decided, no, I'm the only one that
we got the force.
Lift him on my rope.
And me and Brunches and Bullets were talking about that it has a very like Star Wars vibe to it, with the the powers of the witches being almost kind of
voice
force like.
And
then the voice
is basically the Jedi mind
basically
trick.
One is just convincing them to do something, even though they don't want to do it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, many say that was where the Jedi mind trick was birthed out of Dune.
Yeah.
Out of that very thing. Many say that. Yeah.
I have a. I'm gonna let the Queen talk, and then I have a whole thing about that I was wanting to kind of bring up.
Of course you do.
Well, no, it was just it actually goes with these it actually kind of dovetails into these two first timers and their new experience, because I want to ask them about something that was a big concern of mine. So you had that with was there anything that just was like, I just don't get what the hell's going on or anything?
Oh, no, for the most part, like I said, I'd never actually seen it, but I understood like everything that was going to be going on just from what I'd read, what I'd read online, what I'd read in like chats and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So I had a basic concept of everything that was going to be taking place.
Okay.
Just never actually sit down and watched it or read the books or anything like that.
All right. Queen, were you ever lost or like, well, I don't understand what the hell's going on?
Think so. I think I would have preferred maybe because to me it's definitely a cross between Star Wars, but there's some Game of Thrones in there. So I'm like, I would have been more interested to get a little more backstory up front about the different houses, so I knew I had a better understanding of what. I mean, I got it. Everybody wants the spice. It's valuable, but like the warring between all of them and the different just dynamics. Like I didn't get the Baron. I don't know what's going on with these dudes, but obviously bad guys. Check.
Yeah. Okay.
Check.
A couple of comments real quick. Sprout came in. If all these guys are related, the only reason I brought it up is because of what the Queen just said. If all these guys are related by blood, where's their mama at? Bruce Star, I just got home. Sprout just came back. So was the Navigator and 84 created completely for that film? Bruce Star, they can all levitate if they wanted to. It's a side effect of the shield tech. So I'll back up.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah.
So anyway, I don't know.
So the thing that intrigued me that I was want to ask our two newbies here is that the original book was published in 1965, and when you said that basically the Bene Gesserit were kind of Jedi, and then Ronnie jumped straight up, the voice was the Jedi mind trick. So my concern when I heard they were doing this now, which by the way I was thrilled that they were doing it, but I got thinking about I can't get excited because we do this. I can't get excited with, okay, how's this going to play? How's this going to play to a main? I should just be happy I'm getting a Dune movie. No, I'm like, how's this going to play to a mainstream audience? And when I say that, not only do I think about the denseness of the universe, but there's a lot of things about Dune that made it unique in 65 that aren't unique anymore. And Turtle Gal, she and I had a disagreement. I said, because Arrakis is basically, or Tatooine is basically Arrakis. And she's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yeah, it is.
That sandstorm thing, yes, 100%.
Yeah.
They're like, we gotta go in. The sandstorm's coming. We're gonna take shelter here.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's Tatooine.
It's Tatooine. Yeah.
So you've got, and you could even stretch it a little bit and say that, like I said, the Bene Gesserit are kind of you can see elements of the Force and all these things. Also, the Earth Empire with all of its feuding houses and noble ranks, basically that's the Centauri Republic from Babylon 5. I mean, even the way they dress and even the way they comport themselves with knives, and I mean, I'm like, these were the Centauri, and even the Centauri, the way the Centauri dress was how I pictured them looking in the book, with their sort of semi-Napoleonic gear and everything. And I'm gonna let's face it, the plot of Dune is basically the plot of Avatar and Lawrence of Arabia and Dances with Wolves and I mean, this thing's
and Pocahontas.
I mean, all these things, and this is not a ding against the movie or the book, but these things were fresh 65 years ago, and people recognized how good it was, and they've George Lucas and J. Michael, they cherry picked, and James Cameron have cherry picked all these little things out of it that they like.
But you should do that.
Isn't that how storytelling is?
It's not a ding. I'm just saying
Yes.
No, absolutely.
It's in everything. It's in everything.
Oh yeah, no,
It's
that's
just
not
the bouncing, the leapfrogging and bouncing and sharing of archetypes, through different
It's the
different
people who
stories
get-
passed down. Yeah,
right.
It's the people who get the whole thing. If it's not broke, don't fix it. There's a formula to everything. You can pull back and make things modern or keep it old, but it always works. Versus the people who just want to rehash old movies over and over again and ruin them.
I guess the point I was trying to make was do what?
Prout said the Dune is the Little Mermaid.
Hey, wait a minute.
That's too far.
I think that may be going too far. Ronnie, get him.
No, I guess
Get him,
the
Ronnie.
point I was trying to make was not that any of that's wrong, but just like we've already seen some of this stuff done on screen. Was Dune still going to have an impact? I guess was what I was trying. Not that any of that was wrong. Everyone's right. That's where, I mean, how many stories do we watch have biblical overtones to them?
That's right.
So, but that was my point, is when an audience respond to, man, I've seen a desert planet.
No, for me, it definitely had an impact.
Oh, okay.
Like it's still, even though we've seen all these different things that have basically done the same thing, it definitely has, because it's like, for me, the voice it's like the Jedi mind trick, but it's different.
Okay.
Well, there are things that are intriguing about all of these different universes, and seeing how they come together and work in this one is interesting.
But I also think that for people who haven't read the books, like you two newbies, when you go to see movies like that, there should be this undertone of familiarity that kind of, I don't really understand all that what's happening, but I'm just gonna, trust the system.
Yeah.
Because there's so much familiar that has worked before. I'm just gonna keep pushing with it. Rather than the two people who walked out of the theater last night.
I mean, if you had,
if you made
if we made Shugal watch this, I don't know if she's gonna make it. She's gonna lose it quick, and she's gonna be like, "I'm out."
Yeah,
this isn't. But these types of movies aren't her wheelhouse,
right?
Yeah,
because I like Star Wars. I like Lord of the Rings. I love Game of Thrones. Like, I felt little pieces of all of these different universes. This is just a new story, a new telling of things like that. So, I mean, I was in.
Okay.
I wanted more, though.
There's more.
We had this
when I realized part one was the only thing recorded.
I like that it was from a different point of view. Like it was from his point, from the kid's point of view, instead of somebody overlooking him's point of view.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Ronnie?
Oh, no, I was going to say that we had this conversation. We kind of went into, I'm not sure exactly how we threaded this conversation into our alien talk. I can't remember how it got there. Maybe talking about some of the origins and having Mobius and some of the other concept artists, the H.R. Giger and whatnot. Some of those guys kind of have they're part of the family tree that goes all the way back and passes Dune. Actually, the conceptualizing of Dune onto film, from the book. So if you trace all of these concepts back with Aliens, with some of these other movies that were made back in the time, if you trace them all the way back, some of the same artists and minds and storytellers and concept artists all kind of passed this Dune point at some point. And we talked about was it Jodorowsky?
Jodorowsky. Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Alejandro Jodorowsky. But
I was going to say that would have been a fucked up film. I'm sorry.
I
I
wanted to see it. I wanted to see what when you go back and watch the documentary, you talk about what was going on in his head and the things that they were putting together. And the concept that he wanted to bring to screen obviously wasn't going to make it. Nobody, none of the suits were going to sign off on this stuff,
right?
Because there was elements. There was so much, psychedelic imagery, the drugs and all kind of craziness that was going on that was thrown into that. I wanted to see that level of epic, art brain, explosion go on and happen on screen, and it never happened. We got a little bit of
acid before you go in.
Well, I mean, you could do that. That's an option. But Lynch actually tried to capture some of that. And I think he was successful in a little bit of it, which is why it has such a cult following, is because he did recognize that there was a lot of that legacy sort of trippy, psychedelic sort of stuff that was coming back from the 60s that was left to the point where he made that movie. Yeah, and I think he captured some of that on screen. I think it's why it has a following that it does now, including with myself and other people who think it's a cult classic. But I think a lot of that was missing with this current Dune. I wish we could have seen Jodorowsky get his vision put to film. Like most people wouldn't have liked it, but Ronnie Brown would have liked it.
Actually, if Netflix would have been around in the 70s, it'd have been a Netflix show.
It would have totally been a Netflix.
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? So we got a lot of stuff in the chat. So I'm gonna have to back up here a little bit. So all right. So we're gonna go back here. So this is from Sprout. And lastly, which we know it's not lastly from Sprout, why does the Emperor arrange for Atreides to move to Dune just to kill him? It was explained a little in part 1, but it's such a weak plot point. Just kill the family and get it over with. Bruce Star Leto had to fall
politics.
Politics, exactly.
Yeah,
Leto,
100%.
and this is why Bruce Star came out. Leto had to fall on his face in a visible public way. That way, the other houses don't get mad and gang up on him being the Emperor.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then Sprout came back with straight up Dune is the Little Mermaid, which there's a story from Sir Richard Burton's 1001 Arabian Nights that lends some of the witch cult desert messiah motif. That's from Bruce Star. Bruce Star came out. Herbert was ingesting magic mushrooms while coming up with the story. He saw I don't even know how to pronounce that. Psilocybin and spice melange as the same thing. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering the hell out of it.
I don't know what that word was, Bruce.
I don't know.
You need to translate.
That's right.
Was anyone irritated that they didn't really use the word melange in the movie?
Yeah, I kept waiting for that because
it bothered me. I was like, call it. It's spice. It's spice. It's spice.
The spice melange. Yeah.
Is it because they didn't think that the audience today would have like that?
They would like, what's melange?
Words.
Well, everything. Okay, but just
hang on. Let me finish up on these comments real quick.
Sorry,
it's all right. No problem. But that's too weak. He's got the money from Spice, the Harkonnen backing, and is the Emperor. It's a monarchy, so it's a blood lineage system of rule. And then that was from Sprout. And then the final Bruce Star comment. But if the other houses knew that Emperor has Leto assassinated, he could lose some of his control. I think he would have lost face. Okay.
Now that's one thing. Getting back to what Ronnie said in the opening of the book, and Texas Red will back me up on this. They have a whole discussion about why he's doing this way. And yes, everything Bruce is saying is correct. And just I guess to answer Sprout's question, I think there's a whole chapter of why they're going through this whole elaborate plan, is he wants Leto to publicly fail. He can't move openly against a very popular, extremely popular house that has a lot of clout and a lot of alliances. And yes, the Emperor was afraid that the other houses would gang up on him. I mean, and then that's the high points. But yeah, there's they really get into how this whole.
And it was crazy. The Emperor actually didn't run the galaxy.
No,
I mean, he was the I guess the
figurehead.
He was the figurehead, and
he's the queen.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. He's like the queen of England. He is the official ruler of the known galaxy. Actually, the known universe. Is the known universe?
Yeah, it's a known
universe.
Yeah.
Either way, he did not actually have full power over it. It's almost like a federation, not quite a federation like we have here, but something similar in the sense that you don't hold ultimate power at the top. I mean, it's just the power is dispersed across the universe in different ways, through different fiefdoms, different houses and whatnot, and the way and the politics is huge. And that's what makes the story so amazing, is because it encompasses all that. The world building is out of this world. You don't get that kind of world building in many books these days, and to have it put on screen, it's a gamble. I think both the original film. I didn't watch a whole lot of the sci-fi thing. I saw bits and pieces of it, but at the time I was so enamored with my my love for the original Lynch film that I didn't have time to, I guess, to get into the sci-fi stuff. But anyway, I think that Denis Villeneuve did it well. He stayed as close to the book as he could in today's modern visual language, the way we understand the aesthetics. And, and that's why, like I said, that's why I went at Jason so hard. I was like, man, this cannot be boiled down into an average movie. I mean, you can't expect that. You've got to expect that this is going to be a hard movie to swallow. And and you got to take it for what it is. I mean, it's something that can't easily be put into film format. But what we got, I think, was as good as they could get.
In the '84 Dune, though, since we watched it the other night, it starts off where basically the squid mutant baby thing that comes into there and basically is telling the Emperor what to do about Atreides and Harkonnen and where they're needing to get out and all that. So it didn't really.
It's because the Spacing Guild is so powerful. It's because the Spacing Guild is so powerful.
Right. So, I mean, to me, the '84 Dune actually shows that it really wasn't the Emperor's idea to do this. It was a higher power over him. He was just trying to take advantage of certain things he was being forced to do to maybe gain more power. And so I don't think that was anything that was really explained well in the 2021 Dune, that maybe the Emperor is not the known ruler of the universe, but he's still someone's puppet.
Well, and I'm thinking
in the Bene Gesserit, though,
Yes.
I can't stress enough, like they literally have the whole known universe by the balls. Like there's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
Their hand is in everything, and they nothing happens without them giving it clearance or knowing.
And for hundreds of years, for centuries,
Centuries.
they've planted.
They're in the long game.
Yeah, exactly. They are playing.
So, like,
well said.
everything
They're playing the long game.
Yeah, everything that Paul is doing, like at the end when he talks about like, I'm not going to go home, this is my fate. Like he finally understands then that everything that his personal timeline and his people's timeline has come to, it's here, and he just has to keep walking on that timeline. There's no diversion from it. It's locked in.
Well, and he does though, and they didn't. Again, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but he sees the vision of the. I'm sorry, it's not the book uses the word jihad. I know that that word is kind of fallen out of favor because they kept using crusade, which means the same thing. But people have to understand Herbert was really drawing from Middle Eastern culture when he created this. Paul sees the only way to bring justice for his family is to build this army out of the Fremen, but he also understands that he's going to lose control of this, or he's terrified that he's going to lose control of it, and he sees visions of this. Basically this holy war over, consuming the universe, for lack of a better term. And they get into more of that in part 2 about him trying to kind of have his cake and eat it too. Like that, that's kind of why I took kind of the whole thing with Jameis that was kind of confusing, where you were talking about, like, he's seeing these different outcomes in his mind. Like, okay, how can I do this? And like, how can I still get what I want, but not have the galaxy plunged, or the universe plunged into war?
There's no way.
Yeah. For people that call Dune a white savior story, I would respectfully ask you to read Dune Messiah.
Yes.
You do not know what you're talking about.
Sure.
Yeah. But the way you got to be careful the way it translates on screen.
Yeah. I was actually just telling Buddy yesterday, I read a really good article. I need to find the link. And they were talking about the one thing that fans and readers have said for sure about this movie is the part that they got 100% right is that they're not setting Paul up to be the hero, because he knows he's not the hero, because he's going forward. He knows what's going to happen in his name. And so they're not trying to like literally make him the savior. He's in, from what I understand, this is what's going to go on to the second one too. But I agree. He's not a hero. He's not necessarily an anti-hero, but he's a pawn. He's a pawn in a big game that has, like you said, been going on forever. And that was smart. And I like that because there's not a lot of smart movies anymore, and that irritates me.
Viking, you had something.
Oh, and all I was saying was in one of his dream state where he's seeing all these things unfold, he realizes that the killing of Jameis isn't really what's important. Like if he dies or he kills Jameis, it's the getting of the knife, like the knife being handed to him is the important part of it. What happens to him or what happens to anybody else isn't really important. It's the symbolic gesture of somebody else handing him the knife and him going forth and doing what he has to do to basically spearhead things into motion.
Yeah. I think we got some comments. You want to catch up?
Yeah. So Sprout came in. I guess part 2 will have to hit the home run and set precedent to establish the Duneverse, as he calls it. Bruce Starr came in. That's why Lynch showed a navigator. Bruce Starr came with the Bene Gesserit had been around since the
Butlerian Jihad.
But thank you. I'm like, I did not have 10,000 years before, and then the Kizowitz Harak.
Kwisatz
Haderach. Oh my God.
Kwisatz Haderach.
Well, Vigorous Bunch that popped up on the reading last night when we had the subtitles. I remembered that, but forever. Yeah. And he says that forever bitch.
So I guess that's something else that I wanted. I wish Sprout was on, because I mean, he had some serious.
You suck, Jason.
He had some serious. I mean, his reservations about the movie were not ill-founded. Just as Ronnie's things that he loved were. I mean, these are. I agree with both of what you're saying.
Did you have some Sprouts comments or something?
I do have some of Sprouts comments. Hold on here. Let me see if I can find. Let's see here.
You need Stephanie's readers.
Maybe, possibly, perhaps.
Put them out, big boy. Yeah.
There we go.
Balls in the house.
My God.
Okay.
I'm about to go get mine.
We're gonna call you Papa Geek. That's where you're gonna be there. Papa Geek.
Wow, this thing went on for a long time.
Yeah, I know, right?
The top.
We were going off.
We were. It was quite the. Okay, I think I found the top here. No, I did not. Let's see here.
Sprout just came in. Damn it, I'm trying to sleep, but you keep pulling me back in.
That's right, Michael Corleone. I keep pulling you back in just when you think you're out. So first of all, Sprout opened with the fact that he has not read the book. So he said, so I'm a casual fan. He said first of all, so he found what he found off-putting was the same thing that all of us found off-putting the first weekend we saw it, which was as of the time we saw the credits roll the first time. Unlike you, Warner Brothers had not greenlit the sequel yet. So we all. So when I know that
I thought Queen was going to go ape shit when she found like, what do you mean that's not been greenlit yet? Did you just make me watch a movie I don't get to finish?
Yeah, I mean, she was not. I mean, and Turtle was the same way. I mean, I think we all kind of thought, okay, they're going to finish this somehow, even if they do it on HBO Max, or they're going to finish it somehow. But anyway, that's.
They're going to say, go to Sci-Fi and watch the.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bruce Starr says, you look like Grandpa John McClane there, Geek Boy.
Who said that?
Bruce Starr said, you look like Grandpa John McClane with those glasses.
But anyway, so he thought that he did not like the pacing. He just said it dragged on. He said the real amount, he didn't like all the flash forward scenes. He really didn't feel like that we got any kind of payoff to the last 25 minutes. And I will say that Denis Villeneuve is a technically brilliant director. The whole movie is technically brilliant with one. I have one complaint, which I'll bring up in a second. It says, I already know based on the 80s film what the story should be, but holy shit, man, get some character development in there other than Paul's. I can't forgive a director that just fulfills my visual desires and fuels my imagination, then just leaves a lot of these character stories and plot points blah. And so, needless to say, Ronnie disagreed with him. And here's my thought. I guess you could, to me, the biggest character that got the biggest shaft was Dr. Yui, especially if you know that. Man, I mean, especially if you've seen it between the Lynch film and the book.
Yes.
He really got the short shrift.
Yeah.
We do have some House Atreides people that have survived that will turn up in part 2 that I think will have some. Yeah. The Duke, I actually thought the Duke came off better in the movie than he did in the book. And Lady Jessica and Paul are about what I expected. But at the same time, Denny likes his establishing shots. He likes his long, ponderous. You see this, blah, 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 can't talk. You see the same thing in Blade Runner 2049. I mean, you really do. And again, that movie's not for everybody. And again, it's a Denny Villeneuve film, and the fact that Warner Brothers keeps giving Denny $130 million to play in these sandboxes
because they know where the smarts are, they know where the genius is. I mean,
okay,
it may not translate well on film all the time, but they know where the intelligence is. They know the talent is.
I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to shut up, and then I'm going to let everybody else talk. But the one thing that I cannot take away from this movie,
you believe it?
No, well, I'm going to shut up for a little bit.
Tom and Jerry?
Yeah. But
okay.
One of the best things that I loved about this movie, and warts and all, was that it was so refreshing, and Texas Red said this, and I'm going to expound upon it a little bit. It was so refreshing to have a movie that felt like it was written and made by freaking adults. I mean, it never catered to the lowest common denominator, nor did it try to preach to me. Okay. I mean, I hate being every movie I've watched for the last 2.5, 3 years, I've been preached about how bad I am. It did have a definite
for that. I don't need to pay to go to the movies.
Right. And I did have a definite message, but it's like buried in the narrative, which I think that's how those things work the best. I mean, in this day where everything that I love, everything that a lot of us love, is either being dumbed down or hijacked by someone with an agenda, like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, He-Man, for fuck's sake. It just felt nice to enjoy something that had some nuance and some style and maturity to it. And now I'm going to shut up and let everybody else talk.
Listen, updated with a few updated characters or whatever. If they're going to do a little bit of gender or race swap,
I love that. I love it.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
So
I got it. Yes, and I agree. Okay, it's just like to your point, John. I mean, it's as long as it's not done with an agenda, with motives that aren't aligned with my audience, my viewer audience, sensibilities. But I was going to say when it comes to the Denis Villeneuve, so. And I'm going to get into why my opinion of the movie started to drop a little bit over multiple viewings. But so although I've been drinking the Kool-Aid, the Denis Villeneuve Kool-Aid, for a long time, all the way back to Sicario.
Sicario,
Okay, so that's one of my favorite movies of all time. It shocked me dead to my core. I mean, just the from start to finish, the way it was structured, the way it was written, the way it was filmed and photographed. I loved it all the way. Okay, I have no issues with that film. And then it just kept, he just kept piling on with movie after movie, going, okay, was this a fluke? It's like, no, not with this movie. Okay, with Arrival, it wasn't a fluke. With with all the other movies that he's done, Blade Runner, okay, 20 whatever it's called, 2020,
2049.
Yeah. So loved Blade Runner, okay, but I got to tell you, there was a point to where I started to realize his aesthetic sense was a problem for me, and it probably was about the Arrival point. When I saw Arrival, I started to realize his visual style had a language to it that I didn't know if it was real or not until Dune came out. So it was a problem that I saw back then that I didn't know was a true problem. Just something that I saw. I was like, wait a minute, why is this? And it's sort of a visual quietness about the way he tells stories. And the great filmmakers will tell you that you're supposed to show, not tell, when it comes to telling stories via film. Meaning you don't need a whole lot of exposition. You don't need all that. Just show the people what you're trying to you get across in the story. He does that so well, it's almost to a fault, because he will allow the visuals to dictate your emotions rather than the actual narrative of the story. Meaning the meaning and the plot is not what's driving the story; it's the visual vehicle. I'm probably getting pretty deep for this conversation, but that was what I realized when I saw Dune. I was going, okay, so that's my problem with this movie, is that what I got in Dune back in '84, what I loved about it, that visceral sort of, there was always something to grasp onto, to think about, to watch, to see, to hear, to understand the dialogue and the different worlds and this and that, and the way he described it visually on screen. None of that actually translated in this movie because it was so meticulous. And Jason probably said it better. It was, it just there were slow moments. Slow moments are fine, but when there's like a lull in the narrative, replaced by visual weight, you kind of you lose momentum. Is that, I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm
gonna disagree.
Okay.
I'm and respectfully disagree, because you had some really great points, but I'm a visual person. Art is my thing. That's actually what my degree is in. And watching it last night, I was so wrapped up in the story, but the juxtaposition of the visual, it was like light and then it was dark and it was light and it was dark. And the audible, it was loud and soft. And I mean, I was eating that up. And then to me, it's almost like, when you're reading a comic strip and it has the blank panels, where you're just like, it's still part of the narrative and it's setting up the narrative, whether you know it or not. That's what I felt like I was doing. Like it was setting up the more modernized narrative of what's going on. If House Atreides style isn't the next big thing in like Pottery Barn or West Elm, I'll be shocked. But I loved it.
I agree with you. I think that it was a designer's wet dream, if I'm okay to say that. It was, I too have an art degree, but yeah. It was, in my opinion, I think a lot of it was a bit too sterile for me. I think that the first movie was so visceral and so, and I think I wrote it down when we had in our chat between Jason and John and whatnot. But my point was, it was the visual, the aesthetic style, I thought was somewhere between steampunk, Dali, some other stuff by maybe some H.R. Giger, and then some other stuff thrown in there. But I love the visual style of the '84 movie so much. I mean, it was, granted, it was over the top, the special effects were whack, and he didn't quite capture the story right within that 2-hour frame or whatever it was. But I thought it was just a bit too quiet.
I loved it.
The film was a bit too quiet for me, a bit too clean, too Pottery Barn, something about it. I don't know. It wasn't dirty.
I loved when
dirty
there was
enough.
like nothing, and then there was the roar of the thropter, which was amazing.
The ornithopters. Okay, so I didn't want to get there because.
But just the roar of the first initial time you hear that puppy.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how do I sign up for one of those?
That's where I'm going to agree with you. Okay. So I didn't know when we were going to get to the point where we're going to talk about the the machinery and the set design, that sort of stuff. But
anytime.
If we're going to talk about that, I'm going to tell you that was my favorite part of the movie. I got to tell you this: the tech design was so top shelf and so out of this world. Those ornithopters were seamless. Yes. I mean, they were gorgeous. That was the best part of the movie by far. And there was a scene, and by the way, I am actually a helicopter pilot, so that really felt, that spoke to me. The way they played those aircraft.
I live with this.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Husband, yeah.
Okay, well, awesome then. So you understand. So I'm telling you, those were literally Blackhawks, in through 400, 500 years in the future.
And what's funny,
that's literally what they were.
And I don't know why. Well, I know why, but so I live in the DFW area, and there's two aerospace. There's Lockheed Martin, and there's Bell. Bell, 2 years ago, changed their logo to a dragonfly. Which is exactly what it looks like.
I know when I saw those, when I saw the blades come out, I was like, "Those are dragonflies."
Is this going to be the new Bell model? What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in reading the book, they talked about the flapping wings and this and that.
But they never really described them fully.
They never did. They never did. And Lynch couldn't get it right. sci-fi film didn't get it right,
that
and
was
you
terrible.
you saw a whole bunch of other concepts over the years who just couldn't get this right, because again, we talk about the genius of Frank Herbert in the world building and the story that he put on. How many people can do that? How many people can write a book to the point to where you've got things going on in your head? So depending on what you bring to the book as you're reading it, the actual imagery changes by viewer.
But
it depends on the audience. That is the beauty of it.
And I tell my kids this all the time, like especially this Halloween when we were rewatching a lot of those old horror favorites. They're like, "Oh, that's boring," and I'm like, "It's boring because it didn't show you everything.
Yes,
you don't have to use your mind anymore to imagine."
Right.
And
that's what I miss so much about movies.
Age me all day.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not as old as the IT geek, but it's true. They don't.
Actually, John's older.
Actually, I'm the oldest one on the panel tonight.
Well, you're lucky. I didn't know that. But they don't. But
I look at with all this gray right here.
They don't open it up for them to have that imagination. So you're going to have that difference. And I think leads later on to creativity in those people. But
today's generation's never going to have that Hitchcock moment where you see the audience lean to the right, trying to look around the corner of a movie, and you get pulled so far into it. It's too fed to everyone. They've got to have the full explanation fed to them for today. And sometimes,
buddy, I got to tell you that what you just described, I was doing in the theater. Yep. I mean, I was literally doing that watching this movie. I mean, it was some of those things, and some of the scope of the sets and the epicness of what they were filming had me to the point where I was literally, leaning forward, looking back, moving to the side.
That was
the sandstorm, and looking up.
Turn that engine off, and then it was just.
Yeah. Oh, and I tell you, I one of the scenes, and and I know Ronnie being the helicopter pilot in Texas Red on Who You Live With and everything. But when you saw those wings pop out and they showed a close up of the arm of the ornithopters, and they start to, I was just like, I've been to close to some Black Hawks, when I was over in Pakistan, and I was like, oh my God, I'm literally looking right at what it looks like, and it was just so amazing seeing the detail, and I can't even explain it. It was just so encompassing.
Well, I want to interject, since we are talking about these things, all the things we're talking about, especially the ornithopters, I can't stress how the fact that none of this is real, but I'm going somewhere with this. I want this should be a master class at film school, because all we get is bitching, especially from fanboys like me. That freaking CGI fest. You want to see how you freaking use CGI right? This is a master class of how you. I mean, not one of those shots looks fake.
Spot on. Yeah.
And I think it has to do with, in Denis Villeneuve's mind, he knows how to frame a shot. And okay, this is real. And this is going to be enhanced, but there's shit going on that screen. This is fake, but there was not one shot in that movie that looked, oh, that's CGI. I mean, even my holy trilogy, The Lord of the Rings, there's a couple of times when they're in the Goblin tunnels, like, man, that looks like a PlayStation game.
I mean, the way they filmed, just like to your point, the way they filmed the whole, when he did the desert orientation flight to go out there and see the, witness, what was going on with the spice harvesters and whatnot. I've done a million flights like that, by the way. I mean, it was done, just like you would see it today, where they would take a couple of leaders or managers out there and fly them out there and just kind of show them what's going on, show them the operation, whatnot. And I've done a few of those flights. And from start to finish, that was logistically and physically exactly how it would be done in real life. And it's hard for me to explain, why I feel this way, in the sense that, what does this movie get right that other movies doesn't? But from the time that they actually got over the hill, where you actually see the harvester sitting out there in the middle of that valley or whatever, and in the way that Paul Atreides is looking off to the side, looking out to not Paul, or I'm sorry, Duke Leto Atreides was looking off. He's like, "Is that a worm?" You know, and then you've got Liet Kynes look over there with the thing, and she's like, "Yeah, I guess it is." You know, you've got good eyes or whatever. But that whole scene, the way it was directed, I mean, because it was, first of all, it was pulled directly from the pages of the book. Number one. And then the way he was able to just, translate that into a real logistically, militarily, operationally, everything worked out from point A to point B. And then the beauty to see, and this is where his art eye comes in, the beauty to see when they were pulling off at the end where, not Duncan, Idaho, but
Gurney.
Gurney Halleck was holding him, and he was, was holding Paul, and they were on the tail ramp of the aircraft, and all you saw in the background was the worm, in the background, engulfing that gigantic harvester, and juxtaposed within the foreground, you see the silhouettes of them two holding each other on the tail of that aircraft, and as it's flying away. John, you said it right. Masterclass. I mean, that was, the way it was framed, the way it was conceptualized, that whole scene was good.
And I was still holding my breath the whole time, even though I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was going to happen.
Right.
But I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, it was directed so perfectly.
You saw it on, you just seen it on TV, correct?
Yes, I watched it on HBO Max.
Okay, so the question and this happened to me. Sprout made a comment about this in our chat. Did not happen with the Reverend and the Queen. Did you have trouble seeing anything in the night scenes?
No.
Okay, because
ours was crystal clear. Nothing was like overly dark where you couldn't make out what was going on. So ours was good.
Because the scene when they're running across the desert at the end, the sandworm comes up. And they're right there.
Oh no, we made out everything.
Oh, see, if I had just watched it on my TV, and having talked to the Reverend, it's probably a setting. But had I just not, I wouldn't have known what was going on. Like I'd seen that shot in the trailer, so I knew what was happening. But I'm like, I can't see anything. And Turtle Guy was like, "Can you make out?" I said, "Nope, I don't." But Sprout had said when he watched it, he had the same issue. And I'm like, because he asked me, "Man, in the theater, did you have trouble?" So I said, "Hell no, it was." Like you said, it was crystal clear, but so I don't know if maybe whatever lensing or whatever he's doing there does not bode well, because my TV in the front room is an older TV, but still, I mean, it doesn't have a freaking tube sticking out of the back. Yeah. It's an old TV, kids.
So I got the question is that Ronnie and Texas Red. So Texas Red, have you seen it on TV, or is it only the big screen?
Only movie. I haven't seen it on TV. Wow. I refuse to pay anything else. I have too many more subscription services.
The Queen is giving you the password. You can watch it anytime you want.
I should have Mike watch it.
Yep. So Ronnie, so Mike, you need to hang on a second.
No, go ahead, brother. Go
ahead.
Okay,
so I was just going to ask. So seeing it on the big screen, and you've seen it on TV, correct?
Yes, I have seen it on TV. I saw it on the big screen, then on TV.
So, I mean, did you lose anything between the I assume that you probably lost a little something from the IMAX kind of stuff, but from TV from the big screen, were there any things that you noticed that seemed to be different or off?
Well, it was filmed, it was filmed IMAX. I mean, it was filmed on for IMAX, and it was filmed with IMAX cameras. So yes, I think that you do there is something that's lost when, once it hits the small screen. Since I've seen both, and I can make the comparison in my head, I can remember, okay, so this translated perfectly to me visually. I remember seeing it as I'm sitting there in the theater. And then when I saw it on, sitting on my couch, there's again, a lot was, on the edges, the color matching, the grandness of a shot, just an establishing shot didn't have the same effect, like for instance, and this leads me into my another point about one of my problems with this current movie is the establishing shot going on to Getty Prime. Now, that was a beautiful shot, and it reminded me a lot of the stuff he was doing on even not only his version of Blade Runner, but Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, but a lot, those establishing shots that were very, very well done in both movies, including this now Dune movie. It it led you into wanting to see more of the environment, and you didn't see any more of the environment. You saw them inside of an enclosed room, here and there. You didn't see any more of the world on Getty Prime, and I needed to see that. I needed to see how different Getty Prime was to Caladan, to Arrakis, to the home, the where the Emperor his home world. So again, I recommend that everybody sees it on IMAX because again, that's how it's formatted and that's how it was purposed, when they photographed it. But that's probably only for cinephiles to have that. That's a cinephile criticism.
I don't know about that, Ronnie, because everybody that I've talked to that didn't enjoy it, I'm not saying that they watched it on HBO Max. Like, everyone, like Sprout watched it on HBO Max. And you didn't. I mean, everybody I've talked to that watched it, their first viewing was on HBO Max, that didn't enjoy it, or I'm sorry, that the first time they watched it, they didn't enjoy it. They watched it on either their tablet, HBO Max, their phone.
Yeah,
they watched it on. I mean, obviously, you watched it on TV and you loved it,
and I loved it. Yeah,
but everybody that didn't like it,
But that's my and I've watched quite a few movies that are on HBO Max, or not on HBO Max,
right?
But on on Cinemax type thing.
Yeah,
and if I enjoy a movie, I'm going to enjoy it whether I watch it on one or the other.
Okay.
I'm not the type of person to where I can watch it. If I watched it on HBO Max and I was like, oh, I didn't like it, and then I go to an IMAX and watch it, and I'll be like, oh, I loved it. Like for me, I will enjoy it probably a little bit more on an IMAX, but it's not going to be I liked it or I didn't like it.
Okay.
See, and I didn't go see it in IMAX, although I really wanted to, but I was afraid I'd be overstimulated, truthfully, between like my adult ADD and my anxiety. I didn't know what was going to happen and what was going to be thrown in at me. And I was just like, I don't know if I'll be able to handle sitting and watching an IMAX movie. But maybe I can now, since, I've done it a few times in the movies. But I could definitely see where it would be.
The scene where Paul and Jessica are out there and they had just basically kind of hit they were making their way through the desert after the initial attack at night, and you see them get to that ridge line, and there's worms sort of crawling under the sand around them. They don't necessarily come out, but you see a lot of movement in the dunes around them. That was a moment that I think was made for IMAX, because you didn't get the impact sitting there in front of your TV. I mean, it was vast. I mean, we're talking about they're standing there on top of that ridge line, and you see in the background actually, dunes, with almost tectonic, level, shifts going on in the sand, because there's a ginormous, 400-foot worm moving under the sand, and you could feel it and you could see it, and with the sound and everything, it just felt like the ground was moving around you. That scene I thought was one of the biggest, one of the biggest things lost, one of the biggest lost impacts that you got, when you watch it on TV.
Thor or Loki?
It's Loki.
We got a couple of visitors there to the Texas Red and everything.
I thought my kids got over the stage. Now the dogs are doing it.
So, I agree, Ronnie, that no matter, I know what we've got at home and all that stuff, that there's just no way you'll ever have a true experience sitting in your living room versus, and I think, and we've talked about this in past episodes, being in a movie theater, being a full wall experience where it's like seems to be washing over you, versus being at home and seeing it on your 65, 75, whatever size TV you have, unless you have a full wall, nudge.
Got a wall over there.
No challenge, buddy. Do it. We'll try.
Challenge accepted.
No plugs.
But
I bought a Gucci bag when we were in Orlando. I feel like you probably.
Oh, you owe him.
Drop some bank on a big wall TV upstairs.
We all deserve one. It's okay. It's okay.
But no, I get that and everything. So, but when we were talking to the Geek and Turtle Gal about their experience, I mean, from what I remember from our conversation, I mean, they were even having problems, making out the details of the scales of the worm coming up in that wall. And so it's like when they were describing that, I was like, really? And he was asking, could you even see the teeth inside of the tendrils? And I'm like, oh, we saw everything.
Yeah.
So it looked literally like the trailers that we see on the internet and everything. But I know we enjoyed the movie, and I don't know if we will or not, but I could easily see us maybe if we were bored one weekend easily go catching this on an IMAX.
The end. Do we know? Is there a?
Well, we know they were greenlit the part 2.
Part 2's only been greenlit, but this story could go on for a while.
Yeah, I would contend that they really only adapted the first third of the book.
Yeah.
Certainly.
It depends on how they choose to make some of the events. Because all right, so here's where I thought it would end. And again, it's not really a spoiler, but I thought it was going to end. The part 1 was going to end with Paul taking the water of life. Because I thought that would be a great cutoff point. You know, he passes out. We don't know what. Basically, it would be like a cliffhanger. You know,
we don't know if he died or not.
Do what?
We don't know if. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
and of course, then
I
the
agree.
Queen would really be
100%. I agree 100%. So where they ended it off, I mean, was almost anticlimactic because it was almost like, you know, Paul was, you know, Paul Muad'Dib at that point because he was able to best, you know, their top, you know, one of their top, warlords.
Yeah.
And it was extremely like, okay, so if this cat is what, you know, Chani makes him out to be, saying, oh, he's a great warrior, you know, this is a great way to die, you know, this guy's the, you know, he's it. So you're going to need this Chris knife, you know, to go out with honor. So that set it up to where once he was able to best him, I thought was funny though how Stilgar was like, what is he? Is he messing with him? Is he screwing around with him? You know, I thought that was a great scene.
And that's right out of the book. That is right out of the book.
Yeah. But he without breaking a sweat, he was able to best him. It was like, okay, so he's already so you're telling me that he's already made the transition. He is already now, you know, Muad'Dib. Okay.
Right.
That's what I saw, you know, because he bested him so quickly. And I thought that was a weird way to stop the movie. Okay, because we haven't seen that transition yet. We didn't know. He hadn't taken the water of life. He hadn't you know, said, hey, the you know, the sleeper has awakened. None of that has come, you know,
right.
You know, none of that has happened. So we're still looking at Paul Atreides as the, you know, the young teenager who's scared and lost and, you know, mad at his mom and the Bene Gesserit for making him weird. You know, and then all of a sudden he bests their best fighter, you know, from the Fremen.
So I've got a couple of comments there. And so one, I have to admit, I like Lady Jessica more in the current Dune 2021. She seems more badass than the 84. I mean, in 84, she cries at the drop of a hat, and then she meets up with the Fremen, and then literally she makes a move and puts him in a chokehold, and now she's Billy Badass. I was like, what the hell? But in the Dune 2021, I mean, she seems strong and confident and looks like she could take you out in a heartbeat.
Agreed.
Well, she's Rebecca Ferguson.
Exactly. She's Rebecca. So, I mean, yeah, you had no problem with that. I didn't have a problem with where they ended it because of the way I was interpreting his inner dialogue with himself is that he was becoming, from the visions, which I know we agreed that basically he wasn't supposed to really start having the visions until, he got introduced to the spice. But the way the story was being told to me is that he was seeing these visions of where he was going, and then right before he got into the duel, he knew that something had to change in his life to come to the next level, the Muad'Dib, and we came to the realization that it didn't really mean his death or the other warrior's death to get there. It's that he had to take the next step and either kill a man or be killed to get to the next level. And so I kind of enjoyed where it ended in the sense, but that was also before I didn't realize we didn't have any movie 2 or 3. And so when I found out we had not been greenlit, I'm like, you guys are fucking robbing me here. So I was pissed off.
Oh, I bet Queen was about ready.
When she found out we wasn't greenlit, she almost flipped some tables in here because she does not. She's a completist. She likes to hear the whole story.
I understand.
I need all of it. Now I got to go to Wikipedia. I got to get a book.
She is the rabbit hole chaser. Like
it is. Oh my, especially with this.
So what about the casting?
Okay. casting was, in my opinion, I mean, like I said, Dr. Yui didn't really get a whole lot. I thought the casting and performances were top notch across the board. There was one scene when they were still on Caladan where if I were directing this movie, which I didn't, and there's a reason why, because I would have messed
That's
it all
why you're
up.
sitting in Oklahoma and not.
Well,
there's also that.
There's also that, but I would have messed it all up. I would have, but where Josh Brolin or where Gurney's talking to him about the Harkonnens, I'm like, hey Josh, give me one more, bring her down just a notch. There was like one.
They're brutal.
It's like whoa, hey dude, whoa. Coming in hot there, you know. But like just real quick about the ending, I'm going to paraphrase something that another critic said that is perfect. Is because he felt that because of where it ended, the movie felt. He's like this was a feat because this movie managed to feel both 15 minutes too long and 2.5 hours too short at the same freaking time. I'm like, man, that's brilliant. But yeah, that was my thought on the casting. Was I did miss me some Patrick Stewart.
Yeah,
I thought Dave Bautista was great. I loved them all. So Viking, what do you think of the cast?
So hang on, I just want to. Texas Red has to bail out here pretty soon. So I don't know how much longer Texas Red. How much longer you got?
My child's coming from regional band.
So
so
you want to give us your
But I just wanted to say really quick. I know I love Jason Momoa, and it might be biased, but like the minute I had heard that he was cast as Duncan Idaho, knowing Duncan Idaho from his story when he was 10 years old, I was like, to me, that was like one of the most perfect. And then the banter between him and Paul when they were still on their home planet was amazing, and just added that little bit of something to the movie, that like connection where you can tell that Duncan didn't really come from that same world, but they were connected. And the rest of them, like Josh Brolin, I mean, what can't you say about Josh Brolin?
They're brutal.
Exactly. And just everything was so well placed, and it wasn't like, and I too love Timothy Chalamet. Call Me by My Name was one of my favorite books, and then seeing it was even better. I
thought he was perfect as Paul.
Yeah,
I thought he was 100% perfect.
He's at that perfect age where he can be innocent. Where he can be innocent, but he can still be
old is Paul in the book? Is Timothy Chalamet a better
17, 18, something like that.
I thought it was like
no,
14.
he's like, I think he's 20
actually,
now. Him and Zendaya are about the same age, even though I always wanted to picture her as Casey Undercover from Disney.
I think the question is what's their age in the story. I think
in the story they're young. They're like 15.
You got snot? Here.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
so
no problem, Ronnie.
Kyle MacLachlan playing him
did not look 15
to me. Like,
yeah, but they still have, one thing they both had in common is damn magnificent hair. Like,
oh yeah,
both of them.
You know, I was
John,
jealous of that.
Geek Boy wouldn't know anything about that at all.
Yeah.
So I would say I love the cast, everything up. But you know what? The one thing that I was maybe a little irked about is like this whole thing that they've been leaning up to is Zendaya being it. And then she's like only like sprinkled throughout it, and then she has like maybe
6 minutes.
Yeah,
she'll shine
6 minutes on screen.
I'm like,
she'll shine in part 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she'll shine in part 2. I agree. I'm just hoping that they don't do to her what they did with Sean Young, in the sense that, you know, she's supposed to be this big event in Paul's life, and then in my opinion, the Dune 84, Sean Young's role is way underplayed. And so I think Zendaya will have a bigger impact on the screen, which I can't see why they wouldn't. She's so phenomenal on the screen. I've liked her in everything I've seen.
She's really built. I feel like she could have been made for this, like just the setting and how she like naturally just like, you would not question that she was a Fremen at all. She has that look that's described, and she's really coming into her own. Like I said, sometimes it's hard for those child actors to come from like Disney and be taken seriously later. I'm sure having that Marvel boost did not hurt her.
Right.
But I love it. I love
Peter Parker.
Yeah. Oh, I just don't. I can't. It's weird.
Oh yeah.
How does that happen?
So what about you, Queen? Did you like the cast? Was there a dud member in the cast for you?
No, I don't think so. I'm going in and I don't know what to expect. So I enjoyed everybody. Comparing them to the 1984 cast. Wow, yeah, exactly. I don't know. I guess I feel like and it could be just because I saw it at first, the new movie, it seemed like those characters represented what I thought about it. And so looking back, I'm like, oh, well, I don't really get what they're doing here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I didn't have any problem with anybody. I had a problem with Jason Momoa not having hair on his face, but that's a different story.
He looks 12.
But at first he didn't. Zoe said the same thing, and I was just like,
speaking of hair on the face, Viking how was the casting for you?
I liked everybody in it, and I put it out there as not knowing anything, like not watching the 84 version or the sci-fi series, not really knowing what to expect. I liked everybody that they had casted. The only thing that I would like to have seen more is more of the relationship between Duncan and Paul, like before they leave their home, their home world.
That gave one of my criticisms of Denis Villeneuve as a filmmaker is that his films are very cold. But man, that movie for Denny, that's almost like a Spielberg Frank Capra moment. I mean, that gave that so much heart for those two to have. And it's like, obviously you got to stay true to the source material, but boy, they could really use some of that in what's coming up. But
so I'll kind of, I think this is a departure from all the opinions that I've heard a little bit, but I was about 60-40 on the casting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think that I've already talked about. I think Timothy Chalamet, was probably the best casted person in the whole movie. Given what we saw in Lynch's film, I mean that was terrible casting for Paul Atreides. But he was the best casted person. I think that Lady Jessica was almost as good. She's my second favorite probably of casting. I didnn mind Stellan Skarsgård, but I had issues with him. Now I go back and forth on where Helen Gaius Moam, her casting, because I loved the way Denis Villeneuve did the Bene Gesserit in this movie. So much more sinister, so much more insidious, just by the way he filmed them. I mean, the casting was excellent, but the way he filmed them, made them seem like so much more of an insidious element across the universe, like they were who they said they were, but
they're getting their own spinoff, right?
They might be. I think they are, actually.
Yeah, it's gonna be an HBO Max.
HBO Max, that's right.
It makes sense, yeah.
But Duncan Idaho, I have only liked Jason Momoa in two roles, and that was him as in Game of Thrones as Khal Drogo.
Of course she knows that.
And him maybe as Aquaman, maybe. Outside of that, I have not liked Jason Momoa in anything I've ever seen him, and this is probably the same as that. I did not like him as Duncan Idaho.
Have you seen his new little short movie on Netflix?
Yeah. I know about it. I have not seen
one. It's set in Pittsburgh. It's like him and his daughter. I can't remember the name of it. But it was very good.
Sweet Girl.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really good. I like
it. So good.
Okay. Sweet
Girl.
Girl.
I was saying again, the storyline in itself was.
And I maybe biased a little bit on him. I'm maybe a little bit down on him because of some biases. But when he did Conan the Barbarian, that was.
Oh, I totally forgot he did that.
That had such promise because he looked the part. And then I saw the movie and I was like, wow, they really, really, really did not do this well. After
they didn't utilize him the way they could have utilized him. But
no,
again,
they did. No, they didn't.
The director, the producers, how they're going to do everything. They could have done much better.
and him not having the same, you know, size and bulk of, you know, an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just, you know, everybody, you know, when I think Conan, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger because you know, because I grew up watching those original films. And then Jason Momoa, he had the physical facial features and he has a look. And I was like, okay, well, he's not nearly as big as what he should be according to the comics, but he's got the look. And then they didn't nail it. You know, they didn't stick the landing in the film, and it was such a disappointment. But again, so a lot of this may be a little bit biased because of the way I feel about you know, that movie and some other stuff. But this, I felt for whatever reason, he was just I just loved, you know, the casting in the original movie. I mean, I think let's see who played him. I can't remember his name, but I see his face I see his face in my head. I can't remember his name. But maybe that wasn't that good of a casting back then, but I just liked him. And then I liked, of course, Patrick Stewart as Jason would call him, you know, Jean-Luc Picard playing Gurney Halleck. Yeah, you know,
Richard
I just felt
Jordan
like
played Duncan Idaho.
There you go. There you go. Loved him, I guess. You know.
He's like, that's my Duncan.
Yeah, that is my Duncan. Unfortunately, like I said, but this is such a different take on him, and like you said, I believe that moment where he flies in, he gets out of the aircraft, and he's doing the post flight on it, and he's saying, "Hey, yeah, the stabilizers are all screwed up or whatever," and he's talking back and forth with Paul. I thought that was a great scene. I thought that was excellent dialogue, and one of the reasons why I was so hard on Jason about the character development, because I was like, you got scenes like that. You know, they were written and acted so well, like that scene. I mean, that was some serious character development between Paul.
And I was wondering too, because obviously that is not necessarily in the book.
No.
If it was ad-libbed, like how much of ad-libbing was cut? Because between him and Timothy, they seem to have like a pretty good connection where stuff like that was just flowing.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, agreed. I thought that was a great scene. It was written well and set up a lot with the relationship between Paul and Duncan Idaho. I just, you know, there were a lot of scenes where he didn't sell it to me. He didn't sell it to me that he was the head knight, you know, that he was the master of security, you know, for master protector of the family. He didn't sell it for me.
I wish they would have gone into more of the scene and the reason he was not in the house the night everything went down. Because I think that would have been an interesting play and something interesting to see how they would have, because he was out drinking there was like women involved, but it was still, I forget, he was still like part of his undercover Fremen thing.
Right. Well, you know,
that's
funny.
there.
You talk about that part. There was, even in the books, I mean, there was a whole mystery around, you know, no one knew what there was a lot of confusion as soon as they got to Arrakis and started occupying the palace and whatnot. It was a lot of confusion. They didn't know who was betraying who. They didn't know who was the mole and this
even
and that.
Lady Jessica wasn't even 100% sure where his room was, or someone wasn't even sure where his room was.
Right.
And I remember reading that and then re-listening to it this summer. And as a mother of children, I don't care how big this house is, I will know where my babies are.
Thurfer Howard, I think was hinting at the fact that it could be even Lady Jessica who betrayed.
Yes. Okay.
I mean,
yes.
Okay. So
let me ask one question real quick before you get to it, Geek Boy. So I had a question: is that in the '84 Dune, the father checks on Paul, and basically he yells out, he's been drugged, and he's laying there, and he thinks he's asleep, but he's sweating out, and he yells out that he's been drugged, but I don't think that was the scene in the Dune 2021. And I'm just curious, is that from the book?
That he was, with what he had told Lady Jessica, is that he had given him I don't think a sedative, but something to sleep, because he had, with his dreams and the move, he had been having a hard time sleeping. Right. So you see him come in with a cup of water and a pill, but they don't necessarily say what it is until later, and he just like mentions it super quick. That he gave him something to rest better or something like that.
Okay, because like I said, in the Dune 84, it looked like he had been purposely drugged to try to knock him out from.
He was though, because
And I didn't get that same message across in the Dune 2021 movie.
But that's that all falls back on how they really unfolded all of those Easter eggs that he left behind in chance of the survival of Lady Jessica and Paul, because he knew if anyone did survive, it would be those two.
Right.
How he left all those things for them so they could get out in the desert and they could try to find the Fremen and possibly survive. And the signet ring. And
So
even telling the dude.
oh yeah, I forgot about the signet ring. So I want to bring up something because I know that your wife's getting antsy. She's going to have to jump off.
Yeah, I'm going to have to jump off too.
Two things that were the biggest disappointment to me, one of which they can fix in part 2 if they want to, which actually I think they're going to have to, which is they didn't really develop the mentats very well. You know, that they kind of let, I mean, they're going to, I mean, if you didn't catch that when their eyes were, you don't get the fact that they're human computers, but again, they can fix that.
And Paul was being trained to be a mentat.
Yes. Yeah. So he's got a lot of different,
none of that translated on screen. Yeah.
Right. Something that did something that was fine on the screen that's lousy everywhere else. And I know that the Reverend are going, God, I love Hans Zimmer, but that score was horrible. It's I mean, it works great with the movie, and he and I were just talking about this for a minute, but it's musical wallpaper. I mean, it's like I joke, I still have buyer's remorse over buying the Dark Knight soundtrack, and I'm like, this is the same type thing that it was noise. I mean, and
it was
a lot of throat singing, a lot of just
it's definitely not
humming,
a standalone.
chanting.
Yeah.
But in context with the movie, I thought it went well. But
it goes well with the movie. It just doesn't work outside the movie.
Yeah. If you're a movie score nut like me, you bring it home and you throw it in. You're what the hell is this? I mean,
so I was so waiting to see how that worked with the Sardaukar. And it didn't work. I mean, some of it worked. But I wasn't buying the Sardaukar.
I wanted something a little more imperial. Like I wanted something that was gonna, like, you hear the Imperial March and you know what's going on.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You hear that, and I wanted
your
something.
wedding if it's not the right one, you know.
But I wanted something very specific. Sardaukar, and I didn't get that at all. They needed something much more.
Damn, you do that, dude. Good, Ronnie. Shit.
It does.
Scary.
And I mean, and you know, I was jazzed because of the pandemic delays, or excuse me, the world we're living in. Yeah, I got to be the current world health crisis. I was jazzed because I got 2 Hans Zimmer albums this year. I got No Time to Die, and I got Dune. And man, I listened to No Time to Die. I'm like, oh my God, which was probably the most flawless thing about that movie was Hans Zimmer's score. And I'm like, man, I can't wait to hear what he does for Dune. Throat singing and noise. I mean, there were times again, not so much in the theater, but when the Turtle Gal and I watched it here, there were times I confused the score with like the sound design of the movie. Like, is that noise? What the hell's going? No, that's the score. Okay, all right, whatever. Yeah. So I again, I think it works really well, but I think because what we're watching is so far out, and that's why George Lucas had John Williams do what he did. He goes, man, this movie's so far out that the audience needs something to
bring it down.
And that's why that he specifically told him to score it like a classical film. And I think that, like, because I'm thinking about the scene that Ronnie was talking about earlier, where the spice miner's sinking into the sand. All I can hear is this bombastic, Mark Mancina score from Bad Boys or something that Hans Zimmer did in The Rock. I mean, of course, I would have also made that sequence go on about 20 freaking minutes, which is why they wouldn't have let me direct this film. But yeah, I thought
go ahead, finish out your statement.
I just thought the score was a big face plant for me.
I think we're almost at the point, since I know everyone's got to jump off. Let's go ahead and do a roundtable on final comments. We'll start with Texas Red, and then we'll go to Ronnie, and then the Queen, myself, Viking Killer, Viking Slayer, and then and Geek Boy. So Texas Red, give us your final thoughts on Dune.
Final thoughts. I think if I had to, I'm getting into teacher mode here. If I had to describe this movie in one word, it'd be juxtaposition. Everything about it was what I was looking for now. I'm really looking forward to the sequel. I hope they don't screw it up. I don't think they would, but and I hope this encourages people to go out and either read or listen to the book, because there's so much there that's so rich, and will just really add to the movie viewing experience, if you care to do so.
Awesome. Ronnie, what's your final thoughts on Dune, brother?
Final thoughts. I think that the best thing about the Dune 2021 experience was the fact that one of my favorite directors of all time got to give his impression of the way he felt about one of my favorite novels of all time, favorite sci-fi novels of all time, and watching a master, put together, 2.5 hours of film, with unlimited resources was a treat, and it was masterful. I mean, just the way it was photographed was beautifully, the way it was directed was beautifully, and it was fun to watch that. Now my final negative things that I'll say is I want the alien, otherworldly oddity of what I felt reading the book and what I saw in, which was I guess illustrated in the Lynch film. I want that in this film, which I didn't get in the first part, for the most part. But hopefully it translates into the next one, where we see possibly a final stage guild navigator, because we did see some guild navigators, but they were like first stage guild navigators, and you didn't get to see exactly what they look like because they had the shields on. But I want to see some of that weirdness that I got out of the first movie into this next movie. But otherwise, shame on you if you haven't seen this movie yet, and you're a film nut.
Yeah. Queen, final thoughts.
I think we all know I was disappointed. I like to get things, I want to consume them all at once. But I will say that it was an interesting story that I want to know more. So they did a good job, in my opinion, of making me want to, I need to know what happens. I want to know more about the different houses. I think it was visually stimulating. So 2 thumbs up. I just need all of it.
Just needs all the things.
Just give it all to me. Not just the tip.
Only child.
Only child, exactly.
Hey.
We'll get to you.
Easy.
We'll get to you. Anyway, so with that, yeah. I agree. I enjoyed, actually watching the Dune 84 and the Dune 21 back to back. I enjoyed the new Dune a little better. I think it was graphically more stunning for me. It pulled me into the world a lot better than the old one. Maybe it's just because of the time I viewed it versus being a teenager versus being, over 40 plus. We'll just leave it at that. And so
you old, man, just say it.
I'm old. I own it. So anyway, so being 50 and everything, this one was, again, it had a lot of qualities that a lot of the current things I enjoy are involved in, unlike the Game of Thrones and all that. And I have to kind of echo what the Queen says, is that I want to know more, and and I know the book will supply that and everything. I've just got to find either the time to listen to it or read it, because time is so easy to come by.
I got
right
an Audible
now.
credit.
So
We'll spend it.
but I really enjoyed Dune 2021. I'm so happy they greenlit the second movie. They're gonna go for 3. They should just do them both at the same time and give it
This
all.
should be a Lord of the Rings situation. You film all 3 of these and give them to me
when
I know you're done.
Exactly. Viking Slayer, what's your final thoughts?
My final thoughts on the Dune movie is I loved it. Honestly, I did. And I wanted to read the books before I watched the movie, and watching the movie just made me want to read them even more. And if I was going to put like one phrase on this movie, would just be potential is through the roof for me. Like,
Okay.
I feel like even if they're not planning on doing 3 movies, they could do 3 movies easy.
Yeah.
Geek Boy, why don't you give us your final thoughts and close this out?
I think that we all talked about things that didn't quite work for us, or that things that we wish they'd done different. All in all, compared to the kind of dumpster fire movies and TV shows we've been getting a lot of lately, this movie was really masterfully done. It was masterfully crafted. Again, it's not perfect, but I don't know. I mean, there's very few perfect movies out there. It's masterfully crafted. Everything about it. I think, and I'm going to kind of ape what Ronnie said. I think Denis Villeneuve's sensibilities and this material fit well together. I mean, there's times where the movie gets a bit pretentious, but so does the book. So, I mean, I don't think you could make a Dune movie that doesn't have its moments of pretension. So I was overall 100% pleased with it. Thrilled to death that we are going to get at least a Dune Part 2. At least we'll finish this story out. Again, my problems with it were very minor. It may be the best movie of 2021. I know we still got some places to go. It's not my favorite movie of 2021, but it may be the best movie of 2021. So I stand by Free Guy as my favorite movie of 2021.
Of course.
I love Free Guy.
So Fred had to jump out. She had to go get Zoe. She said, good times. Gotta go. She did provide us with our next Fanboys 918 t-shirt logo. Make movies smart again.
Oh,
I like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, I want to thank Reverend and the Queen, and I want to thank Ronnie, our special guest, the Viking Slayer. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I know we went a little long, but hey, we're talking about Dune. Our commentary was almost as long as the film itself. So until next Thursday, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. With that, I'm Fanboys 918. I'm Geek Boy signing off. Peace.